Oh, it's a wonderful May day, Andy. The day after Cinco de Mayo, did you go out and party last night?
Dave, I partied so hard. No, I didn't. I didn't. But it was a beautiful day here. It was a beautiful day here yesterday.
Have you ever been? So this is my question. Like Cinco de Mayo, St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah.
the great days,
Celebrations. Yeah.
celebrations.
Yeah.
I've never been one to be like, oh, I can't wait. Like I got to go out on Cinco de Mayo. I got to go out on St. Patrick's Day. Mostly because I don't like the Irish. Like I don't like Guinness. I'm not a big
No, you said you don't like the Irish. That's what I heard. You heard if you're an Irish American, I was meant to know Dave just said he doesn't like the Irish.
But I've just never been one of those big day things. And so, I mean, yeah, it's fun. I mean, we had tacos last night.
Yeah, well, so you celebrate.
We
So
had another taco Trump yesterday too,
we did humiliating his senior officials in the cabinet because like going against what they'd just been all day briefing. But we don't want to go there, Dave. I want to commend you. I want to commend you on this post Cinco de Mayo. May, what do you say it was May the 6th? What was
Yeah.
it called today?
May this May yeah, the Revenge of the Sixth.
Revenge of the 6th. So it's on this Revenge of the 6th Wednesday. Monday's pod was so much lighter on the buffoonery of this administration. It was great. We owe that to ourselves and our listeners. I commend you for your leadership. So we weren't talking about that idiot the whole fucking time.
Yeah, and I intend to do that the same today,
All
though I
right. All
slipped in
right.
about Operation Freedom or Project Freedom or whatever they called it. That lasted a whole 12 hours, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Taco
Welcome.
Taco Trump. So,
I want
Taco
now.
Tuesday.
Now I want some tacos. I want now. I mean,
Yeah.
you've
We
thrown
did
out the
have
whole morning.
we had tacos last night. It was good. Yeah, I put it in a little salad, and then I do a soft taco, so it's good. So
Nice. I like it.
my daughter kills them. So
All right.
okay, Andy, let's get into we got some, I think, good topics today, Andy.
Well,
So
take us where you will. Take us where you will,
I
Senpai.
mean, we kind of will talk about Trump a little bit, but maybe indirectly.
Okay.
Some elections yesterday, Andy. A couple
We're
big
there.
places:
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio, some
Yeah.
Michigan stuff.
Yeah.
A couple places around the world. Um, I guess the big storyline is the Indiana state elections, like the state legislative of
Yeah.
jet blah, 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 elections, in which seven state senators who opposed Donald Trump, the redistricting plan in Indiana. This was in December, if you'll remember. They basically said, "No, we're not going to adopt this plan," and went against Trump. He was pissed.
Yeah.
So he spent a lot of money, or friends of his spent a lot of money trying to unseat these people. That was a big story because five of them won. One solidly won re-election, and the other one is still in debate right now because I think
Yeah.
they're winning by a whole three votes, Andy. So that's going to be talk about tight election. But I guess Trump won revenge. But if you really look at those state senators, Andy, half of them were going to retire
Yeah.
and only stood in for a little bit. One of them is 80. I mean, so like, is that really like, okay, you spent a lot of money. Yeah, Trump won, got the state senate back. They'll redraw the maps. Fucking like, does it matter anymore? Other states are going to just redraw maps anyway. So I don't
Well, I mean,
know.
I think it does matter in that sense. I mean, the Republican Party is playing a game where they're trying to redraw maps to gerrymander them to give their voters a louder voice. And as we said, gerrymandering sucks because it takes away the voice of so many citizens and residents of the state, and it makes it an unequal balance. And they're going to continue to try to do this. So we see Florida, we're going to see it again in Indiana. You see the president continue to try and shape this party. I mean, like we said before, Ronald Reagan's party is long gone and dead. As a lot of money is spent on elections, they typically don't see a lot of money, invested in them. But the Republican Party went hard here to oust those who had the audacity to challenge Donald Trump. It's just gross because even just yesterday, there were Republicans talking about how the Democrats want to impose one party rule on the nation. That is
And
exactly what the Republican Party is trying to do, and not only one party rule, but really the rule of one man who is creeping closer to the grave every day because he's an old and unhealthy man. So it's a strange person to commit everything to and for because it's a limited window, and then you've got to deal with the aftermath. But victory for them in Indiana. Good for you. Good for you. Republican Party will still get punched in the face come November because the American people overwhelmingly reject this administration. But good. I mean, elections happen. They were free and fair elections. Nobody's saying they were rigged because Donald Trump's side won. Had they
one,
lost, of
right?
course, they would have been rigged. But I mean, that's how this country works. People went out and voted. They made their choices. We live with the consequences.
Yeah, I want to be careful about like over analyzing this about Trump. Like, look, if the Republican Party wants to continue to double down on Trump,
Yeah.
it's only going to cost them in the long run. Because again, you can gerrymander these districts. And by the way, Andy, I heard a historian say it's actually gerrymandering. The individual this is named after was one of the original founders. The last name is actually pronounced Gary, but
Okay.
whatever, gerrymander. I thought that was a fun fact. Anyways, Andy, if they're going to continue to double down on these type of candidates, it is just going to come out. Their belief is that these districts are going to stay the same, and they're like the American people, and especially independents, Andy, who are overwhelmingly now leaning Democratic. That's where elections are won.
Yeah.
You have your hardcore 20, 25% on each side, and then it's that middle ground, 50 to 60%. You got to win. And if independents are saying affordability is not a hoax and all of this stuff, then they're going to vote for the side that's not in power. That's just a fact.
Yeah. And
So,
independence, the numbers on independence, like zero, I mean, not zero literally, but I mean, no support this administration. I think it's at 25% pretty recently. Meanwhile,
yeah.
the president delusionally yesterday, I think, in the White House was speaking how he has 100% support in the Republican Party. 100% support. And he says it, whether he believes it, and I think he does because he's delusional. But like obviously you don't. Like even Republicans are peeling away and very concerned about what this president is doing. Like there will be a reality check. Pete Buttigieg was on a show yesterday. I can't remember which one it was, and he was basically saying, "Look, if this far along into the second year of your administration, you're still fucking blaming Joe Biden for everything that's wrong in this country,
Uh,
like you are not grounded in reality, right? You are not grounded in owning your own decisions. I mean, we've had nothing but proclamations from the White House on everything from tariffs to war. This is the world you're creating, and they're still blaming Biden, Clinton, and Obama. So it's just it's I look forward to getting our normally fucked up country back, Dave. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Speaking of Obama, I think his presidential library opens today. So I'm sure we'll hear some true social comment today
Yeah,
about how disgusting it looks and how over budget it was. Speaking of which, over budgeting, we're now at a 100 like I can't even remember the price tag of the ballroom now, but it continues to go up and
yeah,
up and up because now, Andy, they need security upgrades. They need security upgrades. What started as a $200 million ballroom is now four times that or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
And,
I
but
just want
Trump
on
is
record, Dave. Again, I'm an anti-ballroom enthusiast. We should not build that fucking thing.
but Andy, I mean, he's ahead of schedule on budget.
Yeah,
Like, Trump is
of course,
always, below budget, ahead of schedule.
of
So,
course. Yeah,
so we had that, and then the other election that was kind of interesting, though the results were not, unsurprising. Ohio is shaping up to be a very key battleground in these upcoming elections because the governor's race is going to be very heated. We had our friend Vivek, who's got the Republican nomination,
yeah.
and then you have some Democrats who are running for Senate seats. It's going to be a good election there coming up in the midterm. So that's all I really want to cover. Anything else from election night you got?
No, no. I mean, look, I love elections. I love elections because the people get to go out and cast their vote and do what they want to do and speak their mind. We did it here in Virginia. They're doing it in Ohio. They're doing it in Indiana. We don't always have to agree, and that's the beauty of this country. When we don't have assholes in our political parties, which we do on both sides, we have open elections. The American people can choose what they think is best for them, and we execute laws legally from the state level versus being imposed on us by Washington, D.C. That's the way it's supposed to work. And so I love elections. It's unfortunate they're being so corrupted. And that, again, both parties are complicit in that, but this administration is doing it like nothing else we've ever seen. So anyway, ready to move on past that, Dave. But congratulations, America, for voting.
All right. So let's go, Andy, to our segment. We teased it on Monday. We had the politics.
Yeah,
We talk a lot about what we would, our beliefs and such, but Andy, it's the difference between saying what we think and what we would actually do.
yeah,
So we're probably not going to get to all of it today. We'll probably have to carry this over, which will be fun. But I want to go through like what would be our top, I don't know, five or so priorities if we were to be running a campaign? What would be our campaign stump speeches and what would be our campaign? How would we outline Andy and Dave's
yeah,
agenda for
yeah,
America or
yeah,
something? You
yeah.
know, does it sound pretty reasonable?
Sounds reasonable. Sounds reasonable. We should talk about
Okay. You probably came very prepared. I'm gonna just pull shit out of my ass. So
it.
we'll just do something like that.
All
And
right.
my voice is killing me. I feel fine, but I feel like my voices sound awful.
It's kind of raspy, kind of hot.
Yeah, okay. All right. So Andy,
Yeah,
let's go. Let's start at the top. What would be your main message, your main talking point, your main priority for America under an Andy Jabor run administration?
yeah. If I was king for a day, right? If I was
Oh
king
yeah.
for a day, I think so. Yeah, I think I have to put some context on it because I only have one issue that's really like a legislative issue, like political issue in the sense that I'll come back and explain. So for me, the priority is like this country is no longer an effectively operating democratic republic. And so my priorities would be on trying to get this country to make some changes, be very difficult, but to better represent the interests of the people. So most of my top five are focused on sort of like big things to fix the democratic process in this country, not necessarily issues like, this law, that law. And that's where the preponderance of my focus is. So I'll talk to those, but I think to open it up, like the one issue that I think we just absolutely suck at, that we absolutely have to fix, and we should be ashamed of as a people. I think my one legislative priority is fix fucking healthcare. Like it is a disaster. This country, I don't know if we can still say we're the richest country in the world or not, but a very wealthy country, a very scientifically advanced country, and we have absolutely shit healthcare. It is a joke. And so my personal like push, what I would like to see, I believe in choice, which is another issue that I'll get to, but it was as much choice as possible, but also some things should be available to everyone, period. And so I'd like to see us implement a system where there's some sort of individual funding, a credit, a UBI, or whatever for a fixed amount that individuals can then go and choose whatever fucking healthcare plan they want with that money. They can spend more if they want to get the gold standard Warren Buffett version of healthcare, or they can get the baseline with the money that's being provided. But Americans should have to worry about paying for basic fundamental health care that should be guaranteed. But rather than a big, heavy government system, I think you give the money to the individual and you break up this gross system of healthcare we have now. We've got state boundaries and limitations, and your healthcare is tied to your job, and your employer has to select your healthcare plan. None of that makes any sense or the interest of the American people. Give people money, give them a credit, give them whatever. Go and make your own choice for what you want. Mandatory that you have it, just like in Virginia, you got mandatory driver's insurance. You have to have it, or you have to say, I don't want it, and declare that, and then you're on your own. That's fine. You have to have health insurance. Here's money. Go get your health insurance. End of story. That would be my biggest push on sort of the policy side.
Okay. I like that, Andy. I think that's good. I think healthcare was definitely one of my, I mean, I don't think it was one of mine. It was one that I also agree there is an opportunity there that there should be minimum stand, like everybody should be able to get certain minimum standards. And then if you want above that, great. There are vendors or things that you can do to get that, but you should have minimal standards because we know preventative health is a long-term savings for everyone,
Yeah.
and except for probably insurance companies and medical service providers, I guess. But we just honestly, that has to happen, and there's no reason we can't allow that to happen. So I definitely agree that that's there. It's not my number one, but it's in my top five for sure. So okay, Andy, the reason it wasn't my number one is because I felt political reform. You talked about we need to
Yeah.
change some
Yeah.
fundamental things, but
Yeah.
like in order to get some of these things like healthcare and address education and reinvest in America, which are some of my key themes, you have to change the political structure. And I know like the change in the political structure is not going to happen overnight, and you need some of these other things to happen. But I still think we need to address first the political corruption we have in our system.
Yeah.
And we have constitutional requirements for age requirements for what you can do in office. But I fundamentally believe there should be a retirement age. There should be a term limit section. We should have insider trading, and the benefits of that should be disallowed. We all know this is happening. Congress knows this is happening. They know they shouldn't be doing this, but the system is rigged so that they're the ones who have to vote
Yeah.
against their own benefits.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to change that. We need to go to the states to have them put in constitutional amendments that say this is what we want to add in. And we need to get those forced through. And if that doesn't work, fucking I'm ready to sign an executive order. It seems to work for Trump. Let's just get these things in place because these things are corrupting our politicians who, again, if you look at the Senate, they seem to work on a bipartisan level at some degree. There's still a lot of partisanship. The House is completely like I mean, it's a 2-year cycle. Like you're in or you're out. And some of these districts that we talked about gerrymandering, some of these districts are already so gerrymandered that we can't you know who the people are going to be. So we put our buddy in there and he's going to vote this way and he's going to get all this money. So I think we really have to address that. And gerrymandering is one too. Like that'll have to go in some form. So I would start with political reform as my number one area, Andy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's basically the rest of mine is different
Okay.
aspects of political reform. So I fully agree with you. The system is not working in the interest of the American people, and the assholes we elect are not looking out to fix the system for the American people. It's a serious problem, and I don't know until we as a people either give up, which some are doing, and trying to trust this president to just make the decisions for them, or we take control somehow. Like we are not going to get it done with the assholes in Washington, D.C. It is a corrupt, broken system. Like that is fair. And that is part of why Trump got the support he got from a lot of people because they were sick of the political nonsense of the Republican and Democratic Party. And they saw him as an opportunity for change. Unfortunately, he's the worst possible kind of change, and he fooled a lot of American people. But that is a large part of why people wanted someone else, something else. It's just we brought in fucking Palpatine instead of like a good reformer. So I think we have to look like to the people, maybe the governors and the states, which can still pass constitutional amendments, right? We need leaders that aren't looking, because they want to be the next president of the United States of America, but can just take action to restore the republic and the voice of the people. And so I'm with you 100%, Dave. And I'll go to my second one.
Well, Andy, so do we want to go longer? You want to go to your second one, or you want to pause? Like we've hit our 7-minute window, so I don't
All
know.
right, okay, all right. So I will just tell you and our listeners that my next several will all be focused on fixing the system because like we desperately need to. Like we desperately need to. And there are things that we can do to do that. And I look forward to seeing that happen in this country.
Okay, so let's make this a recurring Wednesday so
All
we
right,
can talk through
all right.
like where we change. Because again, I think we come out here and pontificate a lot, and we bitch in at the administration and I don't mean bitch and complain, but like we call out the bullshit,
Yeah.
but like we're not coming with our own thoughts either. So let's put that out. That's what I wanted to do here. So,
All right.
all right. So we got through one, Andy. We have a couple others. So I likewise, my next series are all about how do we fix America
Yeah.
and address the concerns that are really impacting our citizens. So, okay. All
All right.
right, Andy, let's go to the last topic for today.
Give me what I want, Dave. Give me what I want. Give me a topic I want.
NFL, Andy.
Yeah. Let's talk football, baby.
NFL.
Yeah.
So, Andy, let's go into again, we talked about this last time with the draft. The reason the NFL dominates is because every 7, 10, 14 days they put something else out and they get us talking. They get us, stirred up about what's happening in the season.
Right.
We're in May right now. We had a little mini camps last weekend. Rookies came in. You got to see some initial feedback and so on and so forth. And now we've got the strength of schedules have come out, and we're seeing where some people have the hardest schedules, and some people, maybe the Detroit Lions, have some of the weaker schedules. And so for those just unfamiliar, the strength of like your schedule is determined based on where you rated in the division last year. So like if you're the number one team in your division, you play the number one teams in other divisions. So when you have a cross, you have an inter-conference matchup, and then you have an extra conference division matchup. You play the number one there. So naturally, that's going to be a higher, a tougher schedule, right? And so this is all based on 2025 schedules, like what the ratings were in 2025 and not based on obviously there's been moves in free agency and there's been some trades and the draft picks and so on and so forth. So, Andy, let's do the top five and the bottom five
Yeah.
of here, and then I'll call out where some of our teams laid up there. But would you care to guess who has the number one toughest schedule, Andy?
Would it be the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks?
You would be wrong, Andy. You would be wrong. In fact, the Seahawks have the 14th rated schedule.
Huh.
It would be somebody from your conference
Would it be the number one team
or
from last
division.
year, the Chicago Bears?
It would be the Chicago Bears. They're Chicago
Good.
Bears.
Good. Get smashed in the face, Chicago.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for them, I think for sure. Year two under Ben Johnson, they had some wild endings last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And so they could have very easily been mid-pack, but they get the toughest schedule. All right, we'll go number two, Andy. I'll give you this. Number two and number three you would not suspect this, but I'll give you a chance. Any thoughts on number two and number three?
I'm going to go Broncos and I'll say Patriots.
Broncos were 15.
Oh,
Patriots were 6. So not bad. The Patriots are going to have they benefited last year from the weak schedule. They got a tough schedule this year. But no, Andy, in fact, this is where it gets a little wonky, right? The second and the third toughest schedule right now, strength of schedule right now, Miami Dolphins, who were awful last
yeah.
year,
Yeah.
and the Arizona Cardinals, also awful.
Yeah.
So, so that was surprising to see. But, the Cardinals play in a really tough division. And I guess you could say the same thing with the Dolphins. They're in a tough, maybe the Jets will be better. The Bills and the Patriots are going to be good. So maybe that's the way it goes.
Yeah, so, I mean, so a couple of things there. So one, again, for listeners that aren't familiar, so the schedule is based on the strength schedule is based on who you're playing, which includes two games against each of your division rivals. So if you're in a tough
Right.
division, like that makes a big difference to speak to those teams. So that's definitely a big part of it, and those equal ranked teams in the other divisions, and you play a separate entire division, which might be a good one, which hurts some of these teams too. So listen, this is going to be a reality check for Chicago and New England this year. They both benefited from soft schedules last year. They both overperformed. They both got better. They're both going to get smashed in the face with some real challenges this year. They both of them will be I would be shocked to see if they are actually competing for the number one spot in their divisions this year. I just don't think they're good enough. I think they got by with a soft schedule and a lot of things broke their way. Both teams, throughout the season and the playoffs, they're good, but they're not as good as maybe we
Yeah,
thought they were last
the
year.
Patriots are going to have that Super Bowl hangover, and they that was a very bad loss. Um, and and they
And the
have all the
Vrabel
Vrabel
hangover.
drama. I mean, they have all that drama going on. Okay, rounding out the top five, Andy, I won't torture you anymore, but speaking to your point about like the divisions they play in, number tied for number three, so the number four one would be the Packers, who play in a really tough NFC North division.
Yep.
And then number five is the Kansas City Chiefs,
Yeah.
who had their worst year in a while, but they will be playing the fifth rated strength of schedule, at least at the start of the season. We'll see so where things go from there. All right, let's go to the bottom, Andy. I'll just give you two guesses for the bottom. I don't know, pick out of the bottom five, who would you think would be in that bottom five, Andy?
It's got to be the Raiders, probably the Jets, maybe the Giants.
Andy, you went 0 for 3 on all of those.
Really?
The Jets would have the 12th, and I think this goes back to the strength of schedule, I guess, but or the division they're in.
Yeah.
The Giants are 17th, and the Raiders are where are the Raiders? Maybe I had the oh my God, the Raiders are seventh. Oh my,
Wow. Wow.
that's freaking crazy.
That's
So,
tough.
but the bottom five, Andy, the Falcons at 28, tied for 28 are the Colts. Then the Bengals at 30, Saints at 31, and Browns at 32. But sneaking in there, Andy, at 27, the Lions, your Lions, have a pretty weak schedule. Now,
Yeah.
fourth place team, they're going to play the four, 6 games in their division, but that's pretty fourth place schedule.
Yeah. So I will talk on it for a minute because there have been a few of these rankings that have come out, right? So depending on where you're looking, like they'll be a little bit different. Some have the Lions with the softest schedule in the league this year. And hey, I'm here for it, man. Like Detroit had an incredibly hard schedule last year,
Yeah.
tough all around, really hard road games. I mean, it was a difficult schedule. So going into the season, no matter how good they were, I think most folks, even dedicated fans that wanted them to be undefeated every year, like we recognize Detroit was probably going to have 6 losses, plus or minus at the very least. And then things just went south with injuries and challenges. It was hard. It was hard. But the benefit, if Detroit goes into the season healthy, they've made some changes. Some of the changes they made pay off in the trenches, on the O line, on the D line. Detroit's poised to have a much easier path to the playoffs this year. And I fully expect Detroit to completely rebound. I'm going to say this now, Dave, and I'll say it again, is I don't think this is just preseason optimism. The Detroit Lions will win the NFC North this year. The Detroit Lions, if they're able to stay healthy, which an easier schedule facilitates, because an easier schedule, generally you don't get as banged up and you stay healthier. If they can go into the playoffs healthy, like I said this just the other day in response to a Lions podcast I love, Detroit's destination, their goal this year is not the playoffs. It is to end up in Southern California in the Super Bowl, and everything is in their favor for that to happen. That is the expectation for these Detroit Lions, and I am here for it.
Well, that's pretty ambitious, Andy.
Yeah.
It's pretty ambitious, but the two previous years, the one year the Lions were like, oh, this is the feel-good story, and they got a lot of focus on them. Then it was, wow, they're a really awesome team. And then last year it was like, this team made it to the NFC Championship game. We think we can make it to the next level. A lot of pressure were on them. Now they're kind of like it's like, what have you done for me lately? They're kind of forgotten about in some respects. They had a 9-8 season. There's the Bears who have got all the buzz. You got the Vikings who are still a little what's going on there. And then the Packers always put out good products. So this could be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah.
My Cowboys are in the middle of the road, Andy, and like I said, I think we'll be 8-9, 9-8, somewhere in there, and we'll miss out just on the playoffs once again. So.
Okay, it's a question for you, Dave. You said this point of the season, I know we got to wrap, but at this point of the season, do you feel like Dallas has a chance to make the playoffs.
I think everybody has a chance to make, in all honesty, that's what I love about the NFL. Every team has a chance to make the playoffs. It's a realistic chance. Now, some teams obviously have a lot of work ahead, but there have been we've seen surprises would make it. So I think the Cowboys have a chance.
Yeah,
I think they are under the radar a little bit, and if they're healthy, they could be 11-6 this year, and make the playoffs. But especially if the Eagles implode or things like that happen, the Giants are going to be tougher. I don't know about the Commanders, what's going to happen with them, but I think it's possible. I just even if they made it, Andy, I just don't have a whole lot of confidence that they're really built for,
yeah,
a Super Bowl run, if I could say.
yeah. They're not. All right. Well, I'm excited, Dave. I like talking how we make this country better because, listen, we're like an angry teenager right now, fucking just messing shit up in their rage. But even that angry teenager can find themselves back on track and do amazing things as they mature. We will mature through the bullshit we're going through right now. And I'm excited to talk about ways we can make this country better again because this is not our best. And that happens in life, but we can be much better and we're gonna get much better. And I'm grateful to talk about that. I'm grateful to talk about football again because Dave, I'm sick of talking about the bullshit that this president is so obsessed with making us talk about as our focus locks in on him so often. He is not America and he is not the future, and neither this corrupt Republican Party. So I look forward to better days, and football is a key part of that.
There we go. Good pod today, Andy. Good
Yeah,
pod, good discussion. Look forward to our likes and dislikes of the week
yeah.
on Friday. And until then, I'll catch up with you on Friday.